Could you give us some thoughts on Katranis today? First start in about a month, and then an update on his injury they had to come off for.
Yeah, no, I thought, again, Alex had been training really well the last 2 weeks, and you just saw this moment coming to a head. So I think when preparedness meets opportunity, you get a performance like that. I thought he was lights out today. And then as far as his injury, I haven't spoken to the trainers yet, so we'll know more this week.
You mentioned the preparedness and opportunity. It seemed like Diego, when those balls came to him in the box, he was just ready and was able to bury him. Is that just his mentality and confidence at the moment? He's just kind of primed.
Yeah, and I think again with Diego, I think when he got here, he was always a player that would make the pass or the pass before the assist, and really unlock teams. And again, when we're not scoring goals, the important thing is that he's getting into areas where I think in that second goal, the ball gets fizzed across, and if Diego's not in that spot, those plays don't happen. And so just being opportunistic, being in great positions, and again, that's what everyone saw. What I saw was a guy that wanted to fight for the team. I saw a guy that was making slide tackles, double back pressing. I saw a guy that was just engaged and wanted to win the game tonight. To put 2 goals on top of that, I think speaks volumes of where he's going with his career. And we had one of the national team assistant coaches in town for the last couple of days, and spent some time with him, and he obviously talked to Diego, and I think it was an inspired performance, and I think he sees what lies before him if he keeps in this form. So I couldn't be happier for Diego Luna.
In soccer, we know 2-0 is the most dangerous lead. What was the talk in the locker room so you guys wouldn't give up 2 goals?
Yeah, well, I said to the guys that we've just got to we've got to come out of the gates making sure we're putting pressure on the ball, because again, there's a psychological point to that where you think, okay, we have 2-0, let's drop off. And so I think the guys up front did a good job of putting pressure on the ball. We went to a back 5 with probably 10 minutes left in the game to kind of solidify, with just to make sure that our pivots who were starting to tire a little bit weren't chasing into corners in a low block, and so that back 5 kind of solidified that. But I think the guys coming into the game did a really good job as well, and I think that's an important piece of holding on to a lead. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything, but I think the mindset, when you haven't gotten the results in the last couple of games, it's just a willingness and a desire not to concede. Defending set pieces well against a really big team. Rafa coming up trumps Larry late in the game making a save. I mean, you need everything to not, so that was a collective team performance tonight.
And then back-to-back games with Jesus getting minutes. What have you seen in his development so far?
You got this young man continues to impress. I think he's very calm on the ball. He makes good soccer decisions. His technique is tidy. He's got an eye for goal, and he just needs opportunities. Again, there was a moment where we thought maybe, do we start him this week? And the truth is he's going to be a very good player. There's no 2 ways about it. But how we bring him along and what kind of environment, right? After 2 performances and results that didn't go our way, is this the right time to bring in a young player who's got tremendous upside? So you'll be seeing a lot more of Jesus, and he continues to impress with every training session and with every minute he gets on the field on game day.
Paulo, congrats on the win. How do you, as a coach, evaluate a performance like Diego today, especially under pressure to get a win?
For me, it's this all-around game. We're not a team that can have one player cheat. We need 11 dogs on defense, and we need 11 brave players on offense. And if I frame it like that, I think he was that player on both sides of the ball. Like his relentless pressing, his back pressing, his tackling, like those things are not for Diego Luna. Those things are for the team, right? Him showing up in the box is not for Diego Luna. That's what we need as a team. And so when I look at his performance tonight, I look at a selfless performance, a performance for the team. And if we keep getting those performances for Diego Luna, things will change really quickly for the group and Diego Luna.
So, speaking of that, and the mentality and progress thing, what do you take away from this result in terms of the team mentality? You talk a little bit about it, and what's the next step moving forward in this season?
Yeah, well, again, when you're not getting results, I'll tell you what happens. The players don't have a lot of confidence, right? They start to have doubt as to what we're doing as a group. So results validate the work that we do during the week. So this week, where we typically do about 60% tactics, about 40% competing, we did 98% competing and 2% tactics, right? And so you think about how because again, mentality doesn't come about from someone speaking, a coach speaking. Mentality comes about creating a competitive environment and those guys going at it on Tuesday and Wednesday. That's where the secret sauce is, And so tonight our objective was to get in behind their outside backs, right? How are you going to do that? We have a 9, we have 2 10s, and we have wing backs in the attack. There's a million ways to do that. That's the objective. You guys go out and show me how you're going to do that. And they did that nonstop in the first half, right? So I'm going to double down on the competitive piece, because when we're a team that competes like that, that just doesn't let teams walk down the middle of the field, that battles for every play, that's scrappy, that's when mentality is shown, not when things aren't going well in offense and you hang your head and hands go up in the air. That's not mentality, right? So we're going to double down on that next week, and we have another tough opponent, but it's definitely moving in the right direction. And I guess to answer your question, like, how can I help, is to make sure that environment is competitive on Tuesday and Wednesday so that mentality never wanes.
Pablo, great victory, great win today, great first half. Were you at all disappointed that you did not need to make 4 subs at half today?
Never done that before, and I hope I never have to do that again.
And maybe contrast the two. The first half, a lot of pressing, a lot of pressure. The second half, were you at all concerned? It seemed like there was a lack of intensity for a little bit, or is that kind of the plan?
No, I think we wanted to get after the ball in the first 5-10 minutes of the second half to make sure that they knew we weren't dropping into a low block. I think, again, if they're just going to keep the ball moving side to side, it's not really threatening to us. Like, there's no need to open yourself up when you have that 2-0 lead. We want to be aggressive, but we want to be smart about it. And so the way the players solved that in the second half, I thought was brilliant, right? And the way we helped as coaches is going into a back 5 late in the game to make sure their 8s running, don't pull our pivots out into wide channels because they're starting to wane, and we just kept a nice 5. The pivots were able to get after it. So it wasn't concerning, given that they didn't really pose that much of a threat in front of goal. Like, so you have to choose, do you want that real estate, or would you rather protect this real estate? And given that the last, whatever it's been, few games, we haven't defended our box well, the guys completed the task.
LA reigning MLS Cup champ, but they don't look like the same team as they were last year, and their focus probably is on Tigres and the CONCACAF Champions Cup. What can you take? Can you take a lot from this game, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question, because really the way we talk about our team is it's us against us. When we're engaged, when we have the right mindset, when we're expressing ourselves, when we're fighting the fight, it doesn't matter who the other team is. Like, we don't choose who comes to step on the field, but we do choose how we respond to adversity, respond to difficult moments, how we approach the game the right way. And so I don't look at the opponent. I rarely do. I look at our actions, our nonverbals, our commitment, our pressing, our attacking. So given, the last few games, this was a very, very good performance against any team.
Hey, Pablo, congrats on the win.
Thanks, man.
We had a lot of rotation early in the season due to fixture congestion, and then maybe from our side, maybe somebody wasn't insisting that they be the one who start.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see tonight from the sideline, you and your staff, from your outside backs that we haven't seen in a bit?
Yeah, no, I thought it was really good. I thought those guys did a great job, and coming off of two tough results, there was also this feeling like, well, so and so hasn't been performing at the highest level. Let's make a change, and I feel like that's us brushing off responsibility, and our jobs is to create a cohesive, safe environment where they can make mistakes. Because if you keep rotating, then they start to look over their shoulder. They think that I can't make a mistake, and now they play tight. But I think that back four tonight was the best performance we've had all year. And again, I think they're the way they kept the ball out of the net, the way they minimized chances, the way they stepped up to block shots, the way they put out fires, I think speaks for itself.
Agree. And not to single someone out, but Vera played over 90 minutes on a yellow card against.
Yeah, I know where you're going with that. 'Cause I'm thinking the same thing you are. That's growth. That's growth. Yeah.
And just so in his head, for someone that has had maybe a propensity for a bad yellow in the past, what have you and the coaching staff been working on him this offseason, but also what did you say to him at halftime so that you could leave him out there?
And I think, again, where this coaching staff comes in, I think Jamison Olave, being Colombian, has a really good connection with Vera. And it's been a personal project of his to mentor him, right? To teach him about the different consequences of decisions. And he works with them every single day, video every day, mentorship, life every day, how to be a better pro every day. And so really credit to Olave for that's a tough one. There's a lot of guys you can mentor but he's a tough guy. And what makes him so unique is that he's a fiery guy and he's not scared of anything. But to be able to get a yellow card early in the game and maintain a very good level and not get a red card, again, this is growth. This is growth.
Hey, Pablo. Just to go back to something you mentioned earlier about Jesus Pereira. He came in today for Diogo, and you mentioned earlier that you thought about maybe starting him this week.
Mm-hmm.
Who would he be replacing in the starting 11 if he were to have started?
Well, he also plays up front, right? So last year in college, he was a 9. And so he can play up front. And whilst he doesn't have the top end speed, you'd think you'd need him behind. His movement and timing of his movement is very, very good. And so the way we were thinking about it was maybe Jesus up front with Diego and Diogo underneath. And then the three of them speak the same technical football language. So it looked a little bit different than it did today. But that's definitely a position where he can play.
Okay, and then another question that might not be your specific field, but the transfer window's closing soon. Is there any news of any signings or rumors that you can give us?
Trust me, I'm with you. We've been working hard to identify players. The one thing, especially when you're looking internationally, there's a lot of things that have to align themselves, right? There's got to be a willing player. There's got to be a club willing to part with the player. And then obviously the personal terms on the player. So there's a lot of things that have to align. And this is why I think it's taken a bit of time. It's not from a lack of trying to get there. But again, as a club, we've identified that we need 1 or 2 more attacking players to really make this thing whole and create a real competition up front to drive this group forward. So we're looking. I wish I could give you there's nothing yet, but there is work being done that hopefully we'll get 1 or 2 before the close of the window.
Diogo was really good in the build-up to the first goal, but he did have that chance where he was in behind one-on-one with a keeper, and that's got to bug a guy like him. How do you address that with him? If you do, what do you say?
Yeah, you know what? I don't really address that, because the player knows, he feels it a lot worse than I do. Like I want him to score that. And you imagine for him, like he's he's chomping at the bit to get on the score sheet, and because he's doing a lot of great things between the boxes. It's just that final piece. And listen, he's got experience. He's played on some clubs that have been in Champions League games. Like, he knows how important those moments are. But again, I'm grateful that we have great teammates that cover up for that moment and by scoring goals and making plays.
Flipping he and Diego, that puts Diego in a position to score that second goal. And also, I thought Diego and Catranas were combining well. So did you like what you saw as far as that? Is that something you probably see more of?
Yeah, I think, and the thought of mine before going into the game is if it didn't look really good, we can always switch Diego and Diogo back. Because what Diogo does is on the chance he makes really good runs behind the defense. He really does. So I think those two players are interchangeable, which I think is a good thing maybe to throw, because their styles are a little bit different, where Diego's more crafty 1v1, where Diogo's more of a combination type player. So I think moving forward, again, it'd be silly to change it now, but just something to have in the back pocket where both those guys can play both positions is really cool.
Anyone on Zoom? Jaime?
Good.
Thanks, Pablo.
Thanks, guys.
I like that shirt, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congrats on the win, Mecca. Pablo was in here saying this team is at its best when they're scrappy and fighting for a win. It seemed like you guys are really fighting out there today. Do you feel like you guys take pride in that? And is that something, do you look at that as a positive as opposed to maybe, the underdog mentality of we're having to scrap? You guys get to fight and you want to fight?
Yeah, 100%. I think Pablo said it in the pregame meeting. He doesn't want to be a team like after the game where other opponents or other coaches say, oh, they're a really good footballing team. They really move it around really, really well. He wants to be a team that after we play other opponents, they go, we don't want to play against them. They kicked us the whole entire game. They fouled us the whole entire game. They didn't let us get out of our half. They're so scrappy. They win every single duel, every single second ball. And, something that we've relatively had in this season so far, but I think we just took it up a notch today. And it was something that we focused on during the training week. Did really well in the training week, really, really competitive, really, really scrappy, carried it into today. And it helped us. We won our duels, very competitive in the game, and then allowed us to get the win.
Speaking of fouls, there was an early yellow on Vera and a couple early whistles, but you guys, it didn't get out of hand. How do you feel like you guys were able to maintain the mentality and the composure throughout this one and get the clean sheet as well?
Yeah, I think it's important that, obviously trying to be very, very good in the duels, being very scrappy, but then having the composure when we do have the ball to keep it and relax on it. Because if you're defending, then you get into the mindset of, oh, I got to win this tackle, I got to do this duel, But then there were spells in the second half where we got onto the ball for 2-3 minutes, moved it around. It just allows everybody to calm down, relax a little bit. And then when we do lose it, then we're ready to press. And I feel like if you're just pressing all out all the time, and then when you recover the ball, you're not going to be good on the ball. And we can't have that. So I think it's just really important for the whole team to try and find that right balance in being very, very scrappy, very, very competitive when we don't have the ball, making fouls when we don't have it. But then when we regain it, having the composure to, switch it from side to side, make the other team move, and then to regain our breath, regain control. And I think we did that well in the second half. I think we could have, tried to progress it a little bit more. I think we kind of became a little bit too passive, but, it's something that we're going to work on, something that we learn from, and then take it into this next week, and then take it into Nashville on Saturday.
Yeah, 7 games into the season, being the captain of this team, do you feel like you have a new level of confidence as captain of the squad?
Yeah, definitely. Since being named captain, I'm one of the guys, I don't really try and, it wasn't going to change how I was as a person, how I was really going to play. I think it's just something that I've just tried to grow into the leadership role and try and, elevate others around me. And I'm learning every single day in training, in games. And I have a great group around me in the leadership group and the coaches and the rest of the team that have been pushing me as well. So it's been a learning process, but it's been fun. It's been fantastic, and something that I wouldn't trade for anything.
Yeah, and obviously first half you guys had the 2 goals, and then it seems like second half you guys just took the foot off the gas. Kind of what happened there?
I think whenever it's a game and you're up 2-0, it's just like human nature. It's just natural for kind of the team to take their foot off the pedal a little bit, which is something we should definitely work on. But it's just like natural where the other team becomes more aggressive and we kind of sit back a little bit more and try and, pick the moments to really go forward. So I think even though we did that, I think it was very, very important that we didn't concede. We didn't really give up many chances to them. Like, I haven't looked at, the XG or any of the stats or anything, but I imagine that it's very, very low. So I think it's just finding that right balance in, okay, we're up 2-0. Yes, let's put our shields up. Let's not concede a goal. But I think getting a third goal would have put the game to bed for sure. So, only 7 games into the season. So that's 100% something we need to work. And I think everybody realized that on the field too. Like, we were like, we need to try and go forward a little bit more, keep it in their half a little bit more. So I think it's one thing when you don't recognize it as a team. But I think when we recognize it as a team, then we know what we need to work on. Going to the training week, really dial in on that, and then hopefully come back the next match day and be better in that aspect.
Mega, congrats on the win. Speaking of that, how early in the season it is, what do you think has improved so far, chemistry-wise, from the team?
It's a new team. We lost a lot of players. We gained a lot of new players. Obviously, a lot of familiar faces as well. And it's just, I think one of our assistant coaches put it really well. The first 10, 15 games of the season, you're really learning every single game. You have new faces around you. You're getting everybody on the same page. And there's going to be ups. There's going to be downs, So I think it's just important to keep pushing along and knowing that there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel when it gets to the end of the day. And if they put us in a good position that we learn enough from these first 10 to 15 games, then the last half of the season will be flying. We'll be able to adapt by ourselves. We won't need the coaches. And when we can do that as a team, when it's really player-led, player-focused, I think that's when we'll be at our best. So being 7 games into the season, I'm content with what we've done so far. I know we can do much more. So I think it's just continuing to push ourselves in trainings, and then showing it on match days.
Yeah, and speaking of that, there seems to be like a real energy and a lot of togetherness on the pitch tonight. You as a captain this year, do you get to talk to your teammates or say something to them during halftime or before the pitch that motivates them to come out there and do that? Yeah,
so today, be transparent, I said it was our best training week by far. We put the onus that if things aren't going our way in some games, the pressure's on you, obviously. And one of the easiest things you can do as a team is you can compete more, you can fight more, you can bring more intensity. And so we said this training week, that's exactly what we were going to do. And the Tuesday training, with 2v2s, small-sided games, everybody was flying. Wednesday, 11v11, competitive. Phases of play, we were flying. Thursday, defending, everyone was dialed in. Friday, even, match day -1, small-sided game, everyone was flying. Everyone was focused. And I said in the pregame meeting, if we go out there with the same focus, the same intensity, the same mentality that we've had this training week, we'll win the game. I guarantee that. And that's what we did. And so I think, if things aren't going your way, one of the best ways to flip it around is just to compete more, to bring more intensity, to bring more focus. And we did that today. And it got us the win. And it's something that, obviously we did it today, but it's something that you can't take for granted. And it's something that's not going to just stay there. Like, we're not going to show up on Tuesday. And since we had a good training week last week and a good match this week, that you can't just assume that it's going to be the same intensity week, the same focus, the same mentality. You got to bring it every single training day. So when we show up on Tuesday, we'll make sure that I know as an individual, the team knows as a collective that let's raise the intensity, let's raise the competitiveness in training this week. And if we do that, I guarantee you we'll go to Nashville and we'll get a good result. So that's just the focus for this upcoming week.
Mecca, congratulations on the clean sheet. Watching from the stands and watching the game, it certainly looks like Rafa Cabral has had a big impact on the back line and the defense from our point of view. But how about on the field? Is that true?
Yeah, 100%. Rafa's he's a great leader, and a great presence back there, and a great communicator as well. And I think when you have communication from the back from Rafa, it encourages everybody else around him. and it just kind of makes us that much dialed in, that much more focused. And so having him there and knowing how well he's played as well, that it's kind of rose the level of everyone around him, the center backs, the outside backs, the pivots. And we had a meeting this week. Everyone's kind of been focused on, they're not scoring that many goals, this and that, but we've been defending so poorly too. Rafa saved us so many times. And there was a stat that we've given up the third most XG in a game. So if you're a team that's maybe struggling to score at the moment, you can't concede a lot of goals as well. And we were doing that in the past. So kind of we got on each other. The coaches got on us as well about just defending better, making it your priority to not let a goal in, And I think that's something that we showed today and something that we got to continue into this next training week and then into the match day next weekend.
Game like today, young players had an opportunity to come in. Any thoughts on the players that were able to get some minutes, and your thoughts on who could maybe have an effect moving forward?
Yeah, no, all the young players are fantastic. I mean, you guys are only really seeing it on match days on Saturdays, but I see them every single day in training and the work they put in, their mentality, their intensity, their focus. It's top level for youngsters that are only 18. Gozo's only 18, 19, 20. Wolfie's 22. So great players, and I think it's very important to continue to encourage them, because when you're so young, you don't get your opportunity every single game. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But it's encouraging them to be ready whenever the opportunity arises. And they've been showing that in training, and they had a great training week, and then they come into the game and they play very, very well. So if they continue that, I think all of the youngsters are going to make a very, very big impact on the season.
Hey, Emeka. A couple years ago, I think it was your second game, I asked you a question. What separated you from everybody else, and why is Pablo so eager to start you? What are you doing on and off the field that makes you so special, other than boxing out better than NBA players?
I'm just so focused on trying to be better than I was, the next day. I have a hunger to try and be better than I was the previous day, and when you wake up each day and you have that type of mentality and that type of focus when you go into training, into games, about how can I be better, and you just always strive to be better, it pushes you to another limit. At the same time, I feel like it could be a bad thing, because when you try and push yourself so much and things don't go your way, I get really disappointed in myself. So it's kind of finding that right balance into just trying to push myself as hard as possible to try and be better than I was the day before, but continuing to have that humble mentality when I pull up to sessions. And it's something that, it only being my third year, I've grown a long way. I feel like, because my first year I feel like I was really timid. I really wasn't sure what I was looking at. Second year I kind of grew into it even more, but now I'm just really dialed in on what I want for my career. And I always say, I'm a guy that's very focused on the present and not the future. I don't want to say where I'm going to be in 2 years, where I'm going to be in 3 years. I kind of want to look at where I'm going to be the next day, the next week, and just focus on that. And if I can focus every single day on trying to be better than I was the previous day, the previous week, then hopefully in the long run things will pay out for me. And so it's been good so far, but something that, just because it's been good so far doesn't mean it's going to continue to be good. You could have to continue to put the work in each day, each training, each match day, and then just go from there and see where the cards fall at the end of the day. So
I'm pretty sure that's the exact same answer.
Things haven't changed.
Hey, Emeka, is it in the back of your mind at all that the U.S. is coming off of 2 performances that fans universally called listless, and that you've got McGill in the stands watching you play tonight?
Not really. I'm obviously, I would do anything to try and get another call up to the national team, but the coaches make their ways around. They have their conversations, they make their decisions, and so the only thing that I can do is try and play to the best of my ability. And hopefully, if I continue to play to the best of my ability, continue to push myself, then I can get another opportunity and kind of show what I can do again. So that's the only thing I'm focused on currently.
Awesome. And not to put you in anything with the referee. So let's just say hypothetically in a match where the referee is calling a lot against your team and not so much against the other team, how do you as a leader, whether you're the captain or not, help your teammates to compete without going over the line?
Yeah, just to remind them consistent. I think communication is the key in that. To remind them consistently where they're at in the game, if they have a yellow card, if they're on the verge of getting a yellow card, because I know the game is so emotional, it's so intense. You can make a tackle. I can go talk to you and say, yo, you can't do that again. You're on a yellow card. The game will continue 2-3 minutes later. Since it's so emotional, they'll forget everything you said, you know? So you got to just continuously remind them, continuously communicate with them to the expectations. Like I talked to Alex, you know, after he got his yellow card and he was kind of in the face of the referee. I said, you're on a yellow. You can't do that. Do it again. You'll get sent off. And then the referee talked to me and he told me the same thing. He was like, he's on a yellow. Can't do this. So then after it, I said it to him again. And then when he was on the floor, I said it to him again. So it's just to make sure that, you know, they know where they're at, where they stand, because with the game being so emotional, things changing so quickly, you forget fast. You're so focused on the game. So it's just important to continuously communicate with them to keep them focused in on the job at hand.
Just kind of want to get a player's perspective, kind of your mindset regarding this. We talked to Pablo a little bit about it, but having such a competitive week in training and then playing a game against LA today, does the quality of the opponent affect your kind of mindset as far as what you can take away from this result? I mean, LA's pretty low in the standings. If you were playing a better team and you perform this well, would that change your mentality at all, or are you guys just focused on you and what you do?
Just focused on us. It was a training week where we usually do, you know, we usually do a defensive scout on Wednesday, attacking scout on Thursday, set pieces on them on Friday. We didn't really do much of that at all this week. We literally said we're going to just focus on ourselves, focus on our intensity, focus on how we can compete, and if we do that, then we'll get a good result. So it didn't matter what the opponent was like. It didn't matter if they were in good form, bad form. We were focused on ourselves. And if you can look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, I competed the right way, I had the right intensity, and we got the good result, then I think we can be satisfied, no matter who the opponent is. So then we'll go the next week to Nashville, and we'll be focused on ourselves again. How can we compete to an even higher standard? How can we have even a better intensity, even more focus in the game? And that doesn't rely on who the opponent is. That just relies on ourselves. Like, it doesn't matter how good they are, how bad they are. The intensity, the competing part, the focus, the mentality, that's all comes from us. So that's what we were focused on today, and I think that's what we can take away, that it was a good result for us. No matter who the opponent was, I think we went out there and executed what we wanted to do. So just continue to do that in training and then into this next week against Nashville.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Nah, not today.
Where'd the hat come from? That's pretty sweet, though. Kind of like cowboy hat.
That's how I dress. You guys just don't see me like that often.
Big weekend for you. Congrats on the award last night. Congrats on the brace today.
Thank you.
Can you just take us through maybe like the emotions and just kind of what this weekend has been like for you?
Yeah, I think yesterday was a lot of nerves. I've never been, given a speech in front of that many people and, been awarded something like that. But also excitement, right? I think for the weekend, having my family in town as well, I think is a big weekend to have an award, have them be a part of it, and then also come into the game and, be able to score 2 goals and have them there for that, and now enjoy the afternoon. I think it's a good weekend, and I'm happy.
You mentioned last week the team needing to step up in training. Did you feel that this week, and was today a result of that, you think?
Yeah, this week was solely focused on us. We didn't do much scouting on Galaxy or anything like that, and it was about the competitive nature that we had in training and every day that allowed us to get this win.
Diego, congrats on the win. You seem more vocal than ever before in the field with your teammates. How much of this do you contribute to your opportunities going to the U.S. men's national team camps?
Yeah, I think you can say that it has helped me, but I think I'm still a leader that shows, with the ball at my feet and how I'm playing and how I work, right? My work rate and stuff. But, yeah, I think it's good to show, the other guys and talk to them, to help them, with their confidence, or help them with their play and stuff like that. So I think it's both.
And then going into next week's game against Nashville, what can you take away from this victory against LA for next week's game?
I think we're going to continue with the competitive and the work rate. I think just put our heads down and focus on ourselves, and then, hopefully I think we still need to be better in both boxes, and that's something that we'll work on this week. But I think the competitive nature is what's really going to help us and, make us, right? Like our DNA and RSL.
Hey, Diego. Just kind of walk us through your goals tonight, and what did you see, and how did you find those spaces there to get it in the goal?
Yeah, I think both goals happened because I took the risk of getting into the box. 15-yard run, 15-yard sprint to get into the box. That's something that I've been working on. Even when you don't think the ball's gonna get to you, to just put yourself in that position. And luckily both balls ended up, on my feet, and I was able to put it away.
Pablo kind of talked earlier about how you have grown as a player, where you will find the pass first or the assist first instead of ensuring to the goal. And today you find crucial space in that. Is that something that you emphasize this week in training? And how do you can talk about the development that you'll be having with that?
Say that again.
So Pablo talked us that you were a player at the beginning that will find the pass first instead of shooting. Yeah. So kind of tell us what has grown from that. Okay. And then today you find crucial space in there. Yeah. Was that something that you walked through or worked through the week today, this week?
Yeah, I think, like I said, right, just getting into the box and putting myself in those positions allowed me to be able to have chances like that, right? I think the second goal is a prime example of that. If I don't make that run, nothing happens, right? But if I push through, the ball just ends up right there, and I'm able to tap it in. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. And just being patient and when we're in the attacking play, staying in behind lines and making runs and stuff like that to create space, whether it's for me or for my teammates. Yeah.
Hey, Diego. So in the second half, you were really vocal about the press in that upper third. It looked like you were trying to get that hat trick. Yeah. How did that, what were you trying to say to the guys? What was the game plan there?
Yeah, it was exactly what it was. I think we needed the guys to put in the work. I think it was 2-0 up, and we were kind of, I don't know how to say it, we were like taking the piss. I feel like we kind of, we weren't fully running. We weren't getting close to guys. We weren't having that last tackle. So I think for me, it was getting frustrated. I'm up top working and trying to, do something and get more goals, because the game's not over, right? We want to get a third or fourth. So that was making me frustrated, and just trying to push the guys to make sure that they're, we're all doing our jobs.
Congratulations on the brace today, 2 goals.
Thank you.
Are you happy with the way things are kind of moving, gelling with the club, finding a way to move forward and be more aggressive? Because it seems like there is a tendency to maybe play the ball around the back a lot. So what are your thoughts on how you're gelling?
Yeah, I think, well, first off, I am happy here. I'm very happy. But I want to say, I think as a player, I want the ball as much as I can be, right? And even if it's not as much, I want to get the ball in the right spots in the right time. Whether that's getting 2 touches a game, but they're crucial touches, that's what I want. But I think, it's something that we're going to work as a team, and that's why we're, not every team's perfect, and that's something we got to thread more balls into our 10s. I think we need to get into the passing zone, diagonal runs more often, and then things will start to work like today.
Great to see young players turn into veterans like yourself. Today was a great game for young players to get some minutes. Yeah. Any thoughts on these young players, Gozo, Berea, that are forcing their way onto the team, looks like?
Yeah, I think they just got to take their opportunity. I think when they come in, make sure that their work rate's at 110%, and then play the simple passes and let them get in the game, because they do have the talent to be able to play. So just making sure that they're having the confidence, and they build their confidence and grow into a game.
Hey, Diego.
What's going on?
I didn't get a chance to talk to you in Orlando because you were in the hospital. Yeah. This is the second U.S. window in a row where you've been the standout player, or certainly one of the 2 or 3. Yeah. What did you bring this week, and what conversations did you have with Miguel, either at practice or tonight, about you moving forward?
Yeah, I think I'm just continuing to work. I feel like the national team is of course an honor, and I'm grateful for that. But it's just like playing here. I think when I'm there, I'm focused with the national team, and when I come back here, I'm focused solely on RSL. And doing those things allows you for the opportunities to go back and forth, right? So I think, yeah, and I think with Coach Miguel, you know, it's awesome to have him come out here and you know, explore the city, explore the club that I'm at, and talk to people that I'm with daily, so he gets an idea of what my daily and my weekly looks like. So that was cool, and I talked to him, and it was just good to catch up and kind of talk about, you know, what their plans are for me and what they expect from me, and then now it's my time to execute it.
Perfect. And then last year, we've usually seen you out on the left. This year, you've been more central. Tonight, it looked like you were almost playing a 9 where Ari was behind you.
Yeah.
Where are you most comfortable? Because honestly, the press looked better tonight and more coordinated than I've seen it.
Yeah. I think for me, it's wherever the team can get me the ball. Yeah, I think she has a question. No, I feel most comfortable wherever I'm getting the ball, but yeah, I'm happy to play wherever.
Diego, felicidades por el gol, por los goles. Si quieres me respondes en inglés si te sientes cómodo. ¿Sientes alguna presión cuando la gente está creyendo que Diego es el motor de este equipo?
No, I think for me it's solely just doing what I'm made to do, what I feel confident in. I like the pressure. I like when the team, you know, relies on me, or when people put the pressure on me to you know, to do stuff or to so-called carry the team. I think that's in my DNA, and yeah, I like it.
¿Has escuchado y te gusta que te llamen Diego?
Yeah, they used to call me that in El Paso a lot, so yeah, it went away, so hopefully we can bring it back.
Ya empezamos a llamarte aquí Diego.
Okay, gracias, thank you.
Jaime, do you have any questions? I think you're good.
Yeah.